a little more than a year ago, you first learned that the famous Apache chieftain, Victorio, had gone upon the warpath. Since then, more than 300 human lives have been sacrificed, shot from ambush, murdered in their beds, killed in every conceivable manner. Their victims were added by ones, twos, and up to 20 at a single time, until at last it became either life or death for the people of this frontier, and they arose in their might and followed Victorio's trail by night and day, working under every disadvantage. But the determination never left the pursuers. They would destroy his band, and they did. Colonel Joaquin Terrazas, the oldest and best Indian fighter on this frontier, was given command of an expedition against Victorio. His force to be organized from the rancheros and peaceful mountain Indians of the Sierra Madre. News came that the Indians had appeared only 30 miles from the capital and had stolen some stock. The next news we had was that Terrazas was after them in close pursuit. The Indians, being able to send out small bands of from 10 to 15 men, were always able to keep supplied with fresh horses, while Colonel Terrazas had to maintain his force as best he could. In the section of the state where this campaign took place, there's a great scarcity of water, and it was essential to know every waterhole, as also every wrinkle in the mountains. After the end of 2 weeks of as close a pursuit as circumstances would permit, Colonel Terrazas found that the Indians, after staying at a waterhole until the runners announced the approach of the trailers, would fill up the springs with dirt and stones. This, from the colonel's long experience with them, led him to believe that they wished to evade pursuit, if possible. A few days of this work, weary marching by day and night. Then hard work at clearing out these holes and waiting for the water to clear so as to be fit to drink, together with a short allowance of food, began to tell on the men unused to hardships from their infancy. Colonel Terrazas called his men around him and stated the case, explaining to them that they had yet before them days of hard marching and privation, and possibly defeat at the end. Would they follow him without food or rest, or would they turn back? To all those who chose to return, he gave free and willing permission. 3 only availed themselves of the chance to return home, and the others, refilling their gourds and canteens and watering their worn horses, again set forward. For 5 days and nights they followed close upon the fleeing horde, with nothing to eat except the flesh of their horses, which were killed when absolutely needed, stopping only for water when they could go no further, until at last, on the 5th day in the afternoon, they saw upon the plain before them, not more than 5 miles off, the dust of the fleeing band. A hasty council was held, and the quick plan was soon executed. The complete knowledge of the country possessed by Terrazas and his scouts led him to believe that the Indians would try to make a certain waterhole by evening, rest in water, and be off again, for they knew they were close upon them. To head them at this hole was the only hope of the pursuers, and every effort of the tired and wearied band was now put forth, sometimes leading and then driving their almost dying horses. They forced their way by a circuitous march, and arrived at the spring just at the moment that the Indians appeared. They had no time to refresh themselves, but charged the Indians, who took to the small mountains among the rocks for shelter. Colonel Terrazas sent his chief, Juan Mata Ortiz, with half the force around the mountain to cut off any retreat, and the Comanche scout crews took a few more and scaled an adjoining cliff, and did excellent work with unerring aim. All that evening and all night the fight lasted, the Indians, securely screened behind the rocks, being hard to dislodge. During the night the Indians built 2 bright fires, which were only allowed to burn for a short time before they were extinguished. Terrazas knew their meaning, and sent word around the line to keep a sharp lookout. The order was scarcely given when a volley and a yell told of the enemy in the rear. Encouraged by these demonstrations, the Indians on the hill opened the battle again and attempted to fight their way through the line, but were repulsed. The attacking party in the rear, after losing 3 men, concluded to leave. At daylight the fight was resumed with vigor and continued until 11 o'clock, when Terrazas gave the order to charge the hill with saber and bayonet, it being apparent that the Indians were short of ammunition. Then, the bloody work indeed began, and by noon it was over. Victorio and 77 dead warriors and Indian women lay upon the field, and 78 women and children were prisoners. A death blow certainly to the band. Not one of the Indians upon the mountains escaped death or capture. The loss of Mexicans was 3 killed and 11 wounded, 2 of whom have since died.